and welcome back to the Walter Bosley channel, the first official new episode of anything here in 2026. And we're here with Todd Wood, of course. Hello, Todd,
Hey, everybody.
California, and our friend Rotting Jules.
Hello,
How are
hello,
you?
everybody. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me.
Well, it's great for you to be. Great to have you here. I'm rusty after the holidays. I took a long break, and you guys aren't going to see me this time just because I'm in the middle of resetting up the studio. So you're going to see their nice, smiling, happy faces, not mine this time. So, Todd, let's get started.
All right. I'm glad to be here. Tonight, we are talking about one thing. Does satanic crime exist? There are those who say it doesn't. There are those who say it does. And that is going to be the theme of our discussion. Now, let me give you some background. What do we consider satanic crime? Well, there are those, there's different kinds of Satanism. There's theistic Satanism, that's the literal worship of the devil. Then there's atheistic Satanism, um, which is basically sort of goes by the definition which is a generic noun from a Hebrew word, Satan, which is the derivative of a verb that just means to oppose or to obstruct. Um, Dana, the research that you've been doing lately, you've been diving into sort of Dougie and the Satanic Temple and the Order of the Nine Angles and all these other groups. Um, what are your thoughts on satanic murder?
Well, if you ask our leader of the Satanic Temple, the top satanic organization in the United States with tax-exempt religious status, he would say, no, it's never existed. It's not real. It's always been a conspiracy theory, and I think that they should that insults your intelligence and also
Mhm.
their religious tax exempt status should be put into question.
Yeah.
Because again, they have endorsed, in their own way with Doug's blog, The Order of Nine Angles and 764. They like to paint it as this sort of like Russiagate conspiracy against Satanists,
Mhm.
that it's basically a modern era internet satanic panic disinformation campaign when even the worst of what we know about the Order of Nine Angles and
Mhm.
764, there's still a historical aspect to these crimes. And it's just the audacity for me of someone who, claims to be so intelligent and can sit there and act like an edgelord or debate on Tucker Carlson because he thinks that he has the upper hand. And, well, it's Tucker Carlson, so that's kind of easy, right? But it's the audacity to act like such crimes have never happened when we know that they have. I mean, I think one case that I go back to, Todd, is one that me and you have discussed a
Right.
lot, which is Stephen Hurd.
Yeah. It's pretty cut and dry there. Yeah, Stephen Hurd was a devout Satanist. He's pretty open about it. Dana, would you mind giving us that quote that Mr. Hurd said about Satanism?
Oh shit, Todd, I don't remember. You're gonna have to cut this out, Walter, or I'm gonna fight you. I don't remember.
It's essentially that he was pretty open about it. That's
Oh
like
yeah, he thought
paraphrasing.
that
Yeah.
he was like the real Satanist because he did
Yeah.
it in public and that everybody
Yeah.
else was a poser. Like this is like essentially what he said. Okay, yeah, now
Right.
I remember. That's how he
And
posited it.
let me just remind everybody about um, Elise Poller from 1995, that poor 15-year-old girl who was murdered by those three boys in California as a literal sacrifice to Satan because they thought that in exchange for the sacrifice, Satan would make their band get big like Slayer. I
And
mean, it's pretty
that's
cut and
textbook.
dry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's textbook. And their argument would be, I imagine, just because I have debated with Doug quite a few times, the argument would be, well, that's not the type of Satanism that we practice. And it's like, okay, I don't care if that's the type of Satanism that you practice. That is still a satanic crime, an occult crime. That is a crime that is performed specifically for a ritual purpose because you think
Right.
that it's a transaction, right?
Right. Well, here's the deal. By the very definition of the word Satan, all murder opposes what we hold to be moral and just, thus satanic. Thus, all murder is satanic.
I don't disagree. I like where your head's at.
I mean, and not only that, Dana, it's a global phenomenon. I mean, we just have let's see what we got here. I got my notes here. We got Tomas Serra, who was arrested in 2018 for killing 10 women in a ritualistic fashion, um, as a tribute to Satan. That happened in 2018 in Colombia. Not only that, 2008 in Russia, we have Andrei Andrei Surikov, who literally said that Lucifer commanded him to kill 3 women.
Well,
He
that
probably would have kept going if he didn't get caught.
sounds like a conspiracy theory, Todd. You sound
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Well, and it keeps going and going and going and going. And it's just I think these people like little dumb Dougie, I think what it is, he gets off on arguing with people. And I think that like his whole deal is deny, deny, deny. Just like if a politician got his caught with a hooker with his pants down, they would have to deny, 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 deny. It's the same thing. It's all political. Don't you
Well,
think?
here's my here's my only refutation with that is that Doug has said himself, and he kind of waxes poetic in regards to the process being the inspiration, and ultimately the Satanic Temple is just the satanic faction of the process today.
Hmm.
But, trying to learn from the things that they did wrong. And I think that for the most part, the church in its public face has done that, right? Where we're non-theistic, we believe in women's rights, blah, 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 like all these things that sound good on their face. And in reality, it's like, well, what did the process church do wrong? The process got caught as soon as they
Hmm.
came here. Well, technically,
Yeah.
they got in trouble when they were in England,
Hmm.
but,
That's right.
they ran away, and then God only knows what happened in school. And then, they come to California. And again, this is a hill that I will die on because there's plenty of evidence to support it. Charles Manson was a part of the fucking process, and the process was
Right.
involved in the Manson murders. And,
Right.
it's fascinating because if you're using that as your basis, you have to go with the sort of politicking campaign from the jump. That's the biggest lesson to learn is to not espouse your true beliefs because the process was very open about their beliefs about destruction, depravity, giving in to any perversion, any pleasure,
Right.
the purpose of pain and
Hmm.
other people's pain and how to use it for your own gain. And so
Hmm.
it's the process really is sort of like this starting point for people to look at, in my opinion, if you want to
Hmm.
look at like the history of modern Satanism in
Yeah.
America, because they'll deny it. They still deny it to this day. But again, when you read their literature and you watch the PR campaign, and I just found a brand new article that popped up in the archives that I was so excited. It's an interview with
Oh.
Robert and Marianne. and Marianne in the newspaper, which is crazy because Marianne was
Oh.
never interviewed in the newspaper. And it's like while the lawsuit is going on with Ed Sanders in the UK, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh no, we're here like in fancy suits because of what's going on there, because we need to change people's image. And like they had meetings planned with high-ranking government officials, certain culture, countercultural figures, all this stuff because
Mm-hmm.
they knew that they had to get ahead of it because Ed was right.
Right. I agree with that 100,000%. Please send me that article. I can't wait. I want to see that.
I will, because I
Uh,
was stoked. It has a picture of Robert that I've never seen before, and
right.
they're talking about how like one of the Processians healed Marianne's mother of pleurisy, and like she was on the brink of death, and they did this faith healing and cured her of pleurisy, and like so they're
Mm,
immediately going into like their laying of the hand sort of Jim Jones
mhm.
People Temple phase. Like it's crazy.
Sure did help old George Wallace.
No, no, they didn't. No, they didn't.
No, no, no. Um, but yeah, I just I feel like this whole argument that it's all just a big conspiracy theory. It's excuse my language, but it's just bullshit. It's just utterly bullshit, and they're just trying so hard to shovel it in, and it's just like it's not getting them anywhere. Right?
Well,
Because it really doesn't take very much for the ordinary person to Google search and find out that it's the real deal, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, I agree. And I think that, if we're not necessarily seeing like the hallmarks of whether you want to call it satanic or occultic, necessarily a murder, you can see signs of certain rituals with, dead animals, like where you see these clusters of dead animals, right? Or
Yeah,
animals that are on the brink of death that have clearly been used in some type of ritual. This was a big issue, obviously, in Santa Cruz. There were like
right,
these really crazy peaks of this stuff happening. This stuff happened and is still happening, with ebbs and flows within, Westchester County and Yonkers, New York, where the Son of Sam crimes occurred. And these things have taken place all over the country. Something that sticks out in my mind from my research when I was like trying to see, because if it was just a normal thing, then there would always just kind of be a steady flow. Right.
right.
But there are peaks, and these peaks are around these certain times of year, these certain dates that holds occultic significance, whatever the case may be. And obviously, there's a lot of different pagan beliefs, a lot of different
Right.
pagan holidays. But one thing that stuck out to me was that in Texas in the 70s, there was this, you know, big rash of not just, it wasn't just cattle, it was goats, it was dogs, it
Yeah.
was all of these mutilations were happening or just straight up sacrificing. And even like veterinarians and like the local SPCAs, they were chiming in saying, we need to find out who's doing this. There were rumors of these cults going around. And then some federal agency stepped in and they were like, no, these animals died of natural causes. And you see them getting into these public debates with these veterinarians who are like, this was done with a surgical instrument. Like, this was not done by another animal. This is not natural. And so
Right.
it's like, why is there such a need to suppress these things when we know that these things have been done since the first time that the sun rose? Like, people have
Right.
always done this, right? Like, why would it
Yes.
change now?
Yes. And like I said, it's not just this country. This is global.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that one in Dublin I was telling you about uh John Hogan from 1973 where that boy was crucified.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is it's nothing new. It's a global phenomenon. We're talking places even like China and Japan,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
mean
Yeah.
these things happen everywhere. It's certainly not unique to America, and
Hmm.
we don't live in these other countries, so I can't say, what their propaganda is like, right? But
Hmm.
it seems like here in particular, and not so much in the, I don't know how it is now in the UK, but when there were problems, not in the UK, in Canada, when there were problems in Canada with the process, the government was pretty open about it. Like, hey, they're doing some fuck shit over here. They're not doing what they're
Yeah,
saying that they're doing. But like these things, correct, it's not isolated here. And again, it's put it in the context of any sort of ritual crime. We see these crimes involving, these cartel hits where, they have like somebody's, skull sitting in a cauldron full of blood, and the
yeah,
cops arrive at the crime scene. Like, there's very weird, like, hallmarks of
yeah.
whether it's like Santeria, fucking Voodoo, whatever the
They
fuck it is.
the cartels are really, really, really into the occult.
Yes.
And it's almost to the point of being comedic because it's like every cartel has like their god of death, right? The one who's like peacocking, like I am
Yeah.
the god of death, right? And it's like there can only be one, guys. Come on. And the thing with the Mexican cartels is like they're very into like their history. That's
Yeah.
why you see like heart extractions and stuff still happening and flaying and just like gruesome, gruesome forms of murder.
Yes.
Um, just like the most terrible stuff you can think of. Um,
Absolutely. There was a
yeah.
study that came out. It was a couple years ago. I can't remember exactly what year. I'll try to find it, but it was a study about, the union of, occultism and Santerean practice and witchcraft and these cartel crimes, and how there's this lack of training with these officers, especially these narcotics agents, these DEA agents, where, you come in and they just think it's like something really crazy and brutal happened here. And it's like, no, there are very specific hallmarks of an
Yeah.
occult crime, and that can help when you might be trying to identify who was the perpetrator, because there
Hmm.
are certain groups that stick to very certain practices because they hold certain beliefs, right? And
Yeah.
also, it can be identified depending on what time of year the crime is committed. Like, there are a lot of
Mhm.
benefits to educating people about this,
Yeah.
but it's almost like they want to turn a blind eye, or they don't think that it's worth it. Or, in my opinion, they just don't want people looking at it because they want to cover it up because
Right.
they're allowing the cartel to flourish here.
Yeah, I think I agree with that 100%. And please send me that study as well.
Yeah, I will. I'll find it, because when I read it, I was like, this is a really good point, because I would imagine even if I was, like a seasoned agent, walking into, some house where this family is murdered, but in the middle of the room, there's literally some type of cauldron or pot, and there's like
Mhm.
somebody's skull and it's full
So,
of blood, and there's candles around it that are lit. It's like, this is clearly not a normal crime.
who was that woman who was clearly in the process church of the final judgment who killed her boyfriend for petting the cat incorrectly?
Oh, I can't remember her name. It
Did
was
she boil
in,
him?
she was pouring boiling water on him.
Oh,
Yeah. She tortured him to death, because
my
apparently
God.
he was mean to her cat. And, the process was like, well, she wasn't really a part of the process. And it's like, no, she was actually a part of the process. It all
Yeah,
came out
she's
in court
yeah.
that she was.
Oh man. Oh,
And he
wow.
and he had mental disabilities. So that should give everybody some pause, because a
Mhm.
huge part of what the process's actual ministries involved was working in homes with the
Mhm.
mentally handicapped children and adults, as well as the elderly. And that's not the only time. I mean, besides Manson and some of these
Mhm.
other more well-known cases, that's not the only time that they've had death really on their doorstep. So they had this place called the House of Dove in Louisiana and New Orleans,
Mhm.
and this was one of their many ministries. But two of the women that were in that house, that were living there, that were part of the process, according to what
Mhm.
they say, they were murdered execution style and dumped in a river. So, I mean,
That's that's interesting. Now, was it the epilogue of Ultimate Evil where one of the process members is talking about killing somebody and dumping them in the river in Shreveport, Louisiana?
oh, I don't know.
I'll have to
Um,
go back and revisit that.
yes,
Um,
please,
yeah.
because that Shreveport's cutting it a little close because it wasn't exactly by where the House of Dove was, but I know
Mhm.
where Shreveport is and I know where the
Yeah.
House of Dove was down in the quarter. And so
Mhm.
if there's someone talking about that, that's very curious because there's a weird review that's online that's been online for a really long time. And nobody has sued to get it taken down, surprisingly, that somebody had went to the Process Soup Kitchen in Louisiana and they said that they found like chunks of a human bones and hair in their food and they never went back. And I mean this
Oh my
review
God.
has yeah, it's stayed up. It's been up since I started looking into them. And other people were replying to this review like yeah, there was some really weird bad stuff going on there like the vibe was bad in the quarter while
Yeah.
they were there. And so that's interesting if that was in the
Yeah.
ultimate evil.
You know what I want to find out is, because I've been researching this David M. Sylvie a whole bunch, who wrote Project Artichoke, who mysteriously died while editing the book. I want to find out who this Bob Hanthill is, who claims to have received a master or reached the level of master in the on the Luciferian path in the Process Church of the Final Judgment. Um,
That's very interesting. That's a very specific. I'm curious now too. What was his name?
that's not his real name. That is, it's a he. In the book, it claims that he is a Navy assassin working for ONI. I know you talked about that type of Navy's connection to the process and all that. And same with Stanley Baker, who was in the Navy. But yeah, he was a Navy assassin, and he went through the process training, and received he went to the level of master on the Luciferian path, and he was friends with David M. Sylvie. Um, of course, the interesting thing about that again is that's the book that claims that William Joseph Bryan is was the Grand Shingon of the Four Pi movement. The Four Pi movement was some sort of weird CIA operation blending mind control and blackmail and a bunch of different stuff together. Um, but yeah, I was looking into David M. Sylvie, and the interesting thing there is he was part of corporate security. That was his job when he died. And so I thought, okay, well maybe something happened and like maybe he killed himself because this is at 2009 when the economy, the economic crash.
Yeah.
Um, and dude was making six figures. So that was ruled out completely. So I think it's a situation where the guy, like, is this guy telling the truth or is he just spinning his wheels? And I think it's a situation where he said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna tell the truth. I have nothing to lose."
Hey guys, we got about 3 minutes.
Okay.
But that's essentially it. Dana, thank you so much for this little tiny mini conversation. And I hope this is just part one of a multiple part series. And next time you come on, we can continue this amazing conversation.
Of course, I'm always down to clown with you. You're my homie. Yeah,
Yeah.
we will get into it. You've given me a lot to chew on and
Yeah.
I think we'll have some good ideas to swap back and forth. And yeah, don't believe the Satanic Temple, don't believe Dougie, Lucian, don't believe him. He's a liar.
Little, little Dougie. Little simple Dougie. Mm.
Well, yeah,
Little
Dana,
slow-witted
thanks.
Dougie.
Thanks for coming back and joining us for kicking off this new year. And
Absolutely.
I look forward to a lot more of these episodes and in this coming new year. So anyway, thanks again, Todd. You
Mhm.
got anything you need to share or announce or tell anybody? Any other upcoming stuff that?
I just want to tell everybody that I love them.
There you go,
You're
I just
so
love
sweet.
everybody.
You're a
Yeah.
Dana. Where
human
where
Saint Bernard.
where can folks find you?
I am Rotting Jules on YouTube, Instagram, What is the Process podcast, wherever you listen, and Dana Duda on X or Twitter.
Excellent. Excellent. And of course, you guys can always find the California episodes here at the Walter Bosley channel. at YouTube. That's where we're at, right?
Mhm.
So, okay. So thanks again, and we will see you guys next time.